the way that the person on the other side wants to receive communication. So for example, like in business, if somebody sends you an email, they're probably not expecting you to call them unless they say call me. So follow suit with how the other person likes and prefers to receive communication. And welcome back to the latest episode of Commerce and Chill. I am Jessica Johnson Coe.
I'm Waleed.
And we're married, hey. Commerce and Chill, in case you don't know, is the podcast where we discuss everything business, small business, entrepreneurship, and the intersection of life, love, and happily ever after. Are you happy and ever after today, Cole?
I will be if I get some more checks in.
Checks in. So
the question is, are you as happy as Kanye is right now? Because in this week, Kanye announced that he's going to run for president, and he got put on blast for his company getting PPP money. How you feeling about that PPP list coming out?
No disrespect, I am not mad at anybody. Because
you said no disrespect.
Why you think I was about to be disrespectful?
If you start a sentence with no disrespect, you might be about to drop some fire on somebody.
Oh, no, not at all. Not going to drop any fire. I mean, on one hand, people were complaining that they wanted to get more information on who received PPP funding. And they released the data, finally. Secretary of Treasury Mnuchin, shout out to Steve Mnuchin. He said, yeah, let it go. But there was a caveat. Any organization that received less than $150,000, some of the data was redacted.
Oh.
But look at it this way.
That means I'm there. I got like 10 mil. I wish.
But no, they withheld some of the information for loans of less than $150,000 because in cases like that, there was usually a sole proprietorship or
that's respectable,
or a company with very few employees. And according to what I read, they said that people would be able to deduce the earnings for the owner or some of the people that work there. So
you could reverse engineer because the PPP is based on
the number of employees,
and it's like 2.5 times your average monthly payroll
yes.
or week, whatever.
Yes.
So they could back end it, and it could be like, shit, that could be for some bigger businesses too. Not big, but some of it, just because whatever.
But remember, anybody whose earnings were over $100,000, they were capped at what those people, we'll call them highly compensated people, could receive. So
you're talking about for a sole proprietorship?
For anybody.
Oh, okay.
Anybody. So it was interesting. I took some time this morning to read over based on New York City SBA region, New York SBA region, which includes the Lower Hudson Valley, New York City, the 5 boroughs, Westchester County, as well as Nassau and Suffolk County in Long Island. And they had it broken out by congressional district. So for each of the districts, New York District 1 through 19, they shared how many firms got PPP loans within different bands, as opposed to telling you the exact amount. They also gave the average loan amount by congressional district. And additionally, they told you how many jobs were saved as a result of the PPP by district.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped after a while because I was just like, oh, I don't want to get to New York 15, right? Because New York 15 is the poorest congressional district in the country. And that's the district
the Bronx,
where we're sitting right now. So that's a whole nother story. So let's talk about something better. Before I forget, Kanye, God bless. He got people working for him. They deserve to get paid too. So I'm not mad at him. Kanye,
PPP.
He has political aspirations.
Is he gonna have a PPP version of the Yeezys? That's gonna be the new Yeezys.
Are those gonna be like the Starberries?
Oh, that's a throwback.
That's a throwback.
People probably don't know who that is.
Oh, I'm sure people know what the Starberries were. Stephon Marbury sneaker. But I digress. Anyway, Yeezy, get wise counsel about your political aspirations. Make sure you get you a very strong election lawyer. And Yeah, all the rest, God bless. God bless.
Okay.
We want to talk about communication versus expectations. This Monday, Cope and I had the opportunity to participate in my church's marriage ministry. They have a bi-weekly Zoom gathering that they call Marvelous Marriage Mondays. For the record, I'm a member of Friendship West Baptist Church. My church is located in Dallas, Texas, where Freddie Haynes is my pastor, and our pastor of discipleship is Mr. Reverend William White, who's also over the marriage ministry. And so he led the Zoom call on Monday. And so it was really amazing because Pastor White, he and his wife Cynthia, they are in their 38th year of marriage. And then there was a couple, Martin and Felicia Kemp, who were extremely kind to me in the time that I lived in Dallas. They are in their 33rd year of marriage. There was another couple who had 22 years of marriage, another couple with 11 years of marriage, and then here come the Copes, almost at 5 years, and then a couple with 4 years. And then two couples who were preparing to be married, with one couple planning their marriage for next month.
COVID marriage. You can get married on Zoom.
Hey,
Google
whatever
Hangouts.
works. They probably end up saving a lot of money
FaceTime.
and a lot of headaches. Anyway, so
Save the money.
the topic of the ministry for the evening was communication in marriage. So Reverend White referred to Genesis chapter 2, and he talks about how God, after creation, put Adam to sleep because Adam shouldn't have been by himself, and he removed his rib and created woman Eve, and that when they woke up and they were side by side, that
He said, "Can I get my rib back?"
no, he didn't say that. If you show me where it says in the Bible, can I get my
No,
rib
I'm
back?
asking, did he say, "Can I get my rib back"?
Did you read that portion?
I had to double check. I read the Cliff Notes.
You read the Cliff Notes? You know what I always say. If you don't read the whole text, you can't expect to pass the whole test. Anyway, when they awoke, they looked at each other. They were naked, yet they were not ashamed. They were naked, yet they were not ashamed. And so a good portion of the discussion talked about communication and communication with your spouse, significant other, or whomever you're in a relationship with, and that how it's important that you feel like you can be vulnerable and that you don't have to worry about your vulnerabilities, which makes it easier to communicate. But it's not always easy to communicate.
Was it easy to communicate if you're naked, based on the example you just said with Adam and Eve?
We didn't discuss that.
Oh, okay.
Is that your hypothesis?
I'm just asking. Like, I'm just taking in all the facts. They woke up, they were naked, and they were without shame, and they communicated. So I'm like, if everybody was naked, would it be easy to communicate? Or at least at home. I'm gonna write that down.
Okay.
I think about that later.
You try that when you get home. That might save a trip to marriage therapy, communicating better when you're naked at home. Anyway, so we talked about what are some of the things that make it difficult to communicate in relationships, and what are some of the things that they talked about, not coming from the same background, or I mentioned that sometimes people have different love languages. I mean, there's a book, I'll talk about the 5 love languages.
What is a love language?
Well, how people receive love is different.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, if you understand what that person's love language is, you can best communicate to them.
All right.
And with them.
What's your clothes off?
You and the clothes off. Okay.
I'm just going with it. I'm running with this.
Maybe love language 5.5.
There you go.
Is naked. I don't know. I
I'm
haven't read the
running
book. Anyway, so it made me think about, just in general, communications in relationships, but how there are many similarities in communication in business.
Okay.
And I'm currently reading a book, The Millionaire's FASTLANE, where the author discusses his little black book. And his little black book isn't where he keeps his contacts, but his little black book is where he keeps his customer complaints. Because he says in differentiating your business from others, really how you can do that is addressing customer complaints. We've all heard the statistic, like if something goes right, 3 out of 10 people will say something. If something goes wrong, 8 out of 10 people will say something.
Right.
Or something to that effect. Right. And many of the times the complaints that he talks about, or the disconnect with customer service, he says comes from you're not being clear on what that client's expectations are. So hence, expectation versus communication versus expectation in relationships, in business, and in life. So let's talk a few minutes about that. What do you think about that? First of all, do you agree with his theory that complaints and disappointment arise when expectations are not met?
Yeah, it's simple. If you say you're going to open at 6 a.m., open at 5:55. So then the customer's complaining because the expectation wasn't met. So the business or the person in the relationship, whatever it is, they set the expectation. And then that person becomes used to that. And then when that expectation is not met, then they complain.
You get me the president. What? You want the president of the company? Of the United States of America?
Well, I'll take it a step further and say that oftentimes clients and customers don't clearly communicate what their expectation is, or they may have very skewed expectations based on other experiences. So let me give you an example of both, right? You've given the example before, and I believe you said it on a podcast, about our friend who had the security company, and the client complained because the guard was chewing gum.
Yep. I'll take those complaints any day.
Right. So was it that the client didn't expect the guard to chew gum, or the client had such a high expectation of the provider, our friend, and his firm, that to see a guard chewing gum was beneath that expectation?
Yeah. And sometimes it's not the client or the customer or the person in a relationship, whoever. The expectation has been set for them. Mm-hmm. So if you're used to me cooking dinner 6 days out of the week, and then all of a sudden, like, I only do it 2 days, like, you're going to be like, what the hell is going on here?
Definitely.
Because the bar was set and I didn't maintain this. Really, it's not expectation, it's standards. Because someone sets the standard and then people become accustomed to it. And then they're like, why'd you change the standard? Mm-hmm. So at the box, when we switched the type of detergent that we used, some people were like, what the hell is going on here? Because it's like, it doesn't, before it smelled like, I don't know, sunshine. Now it smells like flowers. Like, I prefer it smelling like sunshine. So we had set the expectation of sunshine.
Right.
Now the expectation is flowers. So some people were just like, I like flowers and sunshine. Some people are like, I don't care. But we said it.
Right. And you bring to mind another example. So at times at the soapbox, we will place a sachet of fresh dried lavender in the completed orders.
Absolutely.
And we will wrap the client's socks in a branded sock wrapper. Like, you go to the store.
You can't be telling all the trade secrets now.
It's no trade secrets.
Hey, man, come
It's
on.
just,
but finish
if you don't use sock wrappers, do better. If you don't put in lavender,
all the secrets.
do better.
Man,
This is no secret.
now I gotta go up the standards again. But
they can do that, but they're not gonna do it the way we do.
Cost more. But finish your example.
Anyway, so we some of our customers got spoiled with the lavender and the sock wrappers, and now it's to the point that if they don't get their socks wrapped in the wrappers, they're like, oh no, the service has gone down.
Lavender? Yeah, I've gotten like 2 stars on Google. You didn't put lavender in my bag this time.
So we got your clothes back on time. They were clean.
The price
they
is
were
up.
folded
I'm
neatly.
sorry, but that's the standard we set. That was the expectation, and we didn't meet it.
Right, but the question.
And then we didn't communicate to them either. Like, oh, we're temporarily not using lavender because, we can't get it imported right now because of their shipping delays or because of COVID or because the price has gone up. And if we get it, then we have to raise the price of our service. So it's kind of like a challenge. But at the end of the day, we set the standard. We set the expectation for the client. And then when they didn't get it, they complained.
Right. I would also say for anybody who's watching, who's not in business, who's not an entrepreneur, and you can't necessarily relate to when the expectation wasn't met when you were a customer, think about as an employee when your expectations aren't met by your employer. Because we've had a couple of recent cases where we've hired people, we've clearly outlined in the job posting what the job responsibilities will be. Everything from what time the shift is, what the pay is, what type of site it is or environment. What's that?
You're sprinkling salt on me, but go ahead. Here it
comes.
comes.
I'm not trying to sprinkle salt. I'm just trying to make a point. And so people will go through the process, right? They'll show up. I'm here for a job. They'll fill out the application, use my pen and my paper. We'll interview them. We'll send them, hire them after we do all the proper checks and they make sure that they have the right credentials. And then we'll send them to work and they'll be like, oh no, I can't work here. Excuse me? Oh no, I was told that I was going to a hospital and this is a clinic.
It's medical.
Said
medical
environment. Oh no, I can't work those days. I can only work the morning. Well, the ad said we had afternoon shifts available. Oh no, I can't work there. It's too hot.
It's too hot. Yeah, we've heard that one too.
A very real example, which I'm a little salty. An employee shows up at a client work site and is instructed to go to a certain post. And she said, no, that's not where I'm supposed to be. And the client said, oh no, that's where you're supposed to be. She said, no, we always go to this other post. Plus that post is hot. And they said, okay, well, if you're not going to go there, go back to the command center so you can get reassigned. And so then she proceeds to walk out, not follow instructions, walk past the command center and give them the deuces. And I believe in her email, she said she expected to be working at a certain post. And when she couldn't work at that post, she just couldn't work at all. So I say this to you to say, not that you need to work someplace hot, not that you need to work for our companies, but if you are an employee, you should take the time to understand what your employer's expectations are and to clearly communicate to your employer what your expectations are, so there's no middle ground, so there's no muddy water, so that you don't end up walking off and making a really bad decision for yourself. Because at the end of the day, you can walk away from a job, you can walk away from a company, but you can't walk away from yourself. And there's only so long you can keep walking away before opportunities will walk away from you. That's all I gotta say about
I don't know what to say after that.
If you are a business owner, if you are an entrepreneur, I encourage you in the business development process to ask more questions, to drill down, to really understand what it is that your clients or prospective clients are looking for. I mean, in some cases, you might not be able to get the opportunity until you actually start working with someone. But if you have to submit written proposals and you have the chance to ask questions, drill down on those questions, because many other firms are not going to do it. They're just going to take it at face value. I mean, oftentimes on the security side, we'll have prospective clients call and say, oh, I just want a body. I just want a person. And it's usually someone who doesn't have a security background. And so they're only thinking of security in the scope of what they've been told. as opposed to if we say, oh, okay, what type of credentials should they have? What type of training do they have? Will you need them to do patrols? And then that's where you can flex and demonstrate your professionalism, where you can flex and demonstrate your skill level, your proficiency in the products and services that you provide, and use that time and that opportunity so that you can place yourself and your business ahead of the competition. So it's really important to understand what those expectations are, and communication is the key to understanding that and getting the information that you need to be more successful.
The expectations, you talk about expectation and communication, but at the same time, people need to understand too that on the other side of expectations, you need to, especially when you're looking for people to join your team, you need to stick. If your expectations are someone needs to come in and have this credential, or they need to have this skill, or they need to present themselves in a certain way, you need to stick with that. Because as soon as you start compromising on your expectations, then you're going to have a different result later on. And then you're not going to be satisfied. You're not going to be happy what it is. And then your communication is going to break down probably with that other person or party, because you're going to be so frustrated. So if you're running a business and people are supposed to come wear a certain type of attire, like for one of our businesses, people need to come dress professional for an interview. Business casual, full business, whatever it's called. I don't know. You can wear a suit, a full suit, or you come in, dress shirt, whatever, a blazer. But you need to be presentable. You need to be professional. But as soon as someone doesn't meet that expectation, I tell a team all the time, you need to stop that. Like, if you keep moving them forward during the process, they're going to feel like, oh, I can come to work in jeans and sneakers, or I can show up with a sloppy uniform. It's not going to be presentable when they go to site, especially when they're working in the field and working remotely. So you need to hold true to your expectations too, of the people who are going to be joining your team or the people on your team. So they all go hand in hand, communications and expectations.
Did you want to add anything with respect to expectations and communications in relationships?
Oh, it's the same. To me, it's the same.
Can you give me an example?
Business and relationships are the same. What is that last episode we did? Marriage is a business. Marriage is a goddamn business. And if you don't go into that business prepared and have your stuff in a row, be prepared to be divorced. Or be prepared to settle and be unhappy for a mad long time. And I'm sorry if I offended anybody, but I'm telling you right now, marriage is a business. When you understand that and you treat it that way, it's great. Because you know what the expectations are from the beginning. If you communicate, you know what the other person expects. You don't expect me to do dishes. I just don't do them. But I will put them in the dishwasher. And I will start the dishwasher. I'll put the soap in it too. I'll load them. And sometimes I even unload them. I'll throw them in a thing and put it away. But when you set the expectations from the beginning, you have success.
When it comes to your personal relationships and it comes to your business relationships, think about what your expectations are. Be crystal clear about what they are, even if you need to write them down in your quiet time, so that you can clearly communicate to the person on the other side what it is that you want, what it is that you need, and that you can better assure yourself that you will achieve those things both personally and professionally. Ask questions so that you understand what your client, prospective client, employee, mate is looking for from the relationship, from the product, from the service, so that you can better deliver on that. Be consistent and don't compromise, so that you know that you're hitting the mark and you're not missing the mark. Remember, marriage is a business, and communication is critical in any business, be it security, be it laundry, be it the business of love. And as Mr. Cope said, if you communicate, you will know what the other person expects. And you can be naked and not be ashamed, because it's all clear. This has been another episode of Commerce and Chill. We hope that you enjoyed it and got something out of it. Hey, hit us up. Let us know if you have any questions about tools that we use to communicate. I'll say over communicate, under promise, and then over deliver. Oh, one last thing. The way that the person on the other side wants to receive communication. So for example, like in business, if somebody sends you an email, they're probably not expecting you to call them unless they say, call me. So follow suit with how the other person likes and prefers to receive communication. If your significant other likes to text, then text. If your significant other prefers a Zoom call, then Zoom. And if you have a preference, let that person know. So make sure that you're using different medium, but the right media that speaks to how the person you want to get the message is receiving it. Because expectations and communications go hand in hand, just like love and marriage, just like commerce and chill, just like Jessica Johnson Cope and
Waleed.
We hope to see you on a future episode. Thanks for stopping by. Rate us, review us, tell your mama, tell your auntie, tell your friends, subscribe. And we'll see you soon at Commerce and Chill. Thanks.
Bye.